Today's Monday, June 22nd, 2020. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Massive failure for Donald Trump at his rally in Tulsa. Yeah, he's upset. He's furious that only 6,200 people showed up. Guess what? Get ready. You'll be really furious when we fire you in November. Folks, lots of online ads targeting Donald Trump, especially from the Lincoln Project. We'll talk with John Weaver, one of the founders of the Lincoln Project Lincoln, will join us to talk about it. Donald Trump claims that the reason for the spike in COVID-19 numbers is too much testing. He even said at his rally, he told folks to slow them down. Dr. Ebony Hilton talks about that. Trust me, she's going to be on fire. Also, Demario Solomon Simmons will join us. He represents the last known survivor in the Tulsa massacre, the race riot in 1921. He'll join us. Plus, oh my God, Gary Chambers Jr. put Connie on blast at the Baton Rouge School Board meeting last week. He is here. He's gone viral, folks, and can't wait to talk about him. Plus, Reverend Dr. William Barber is here to sound the warning about the Kentucky primaries being held tomorrow. 95% of all statewide polls are closed. Also, NASCAR stands with Bubba Wallace when a noose is found in his garage. And black quarterback, Liberty University, says, peace, I'm out. I'm tired of the racism here at my university. Take that, Jerry Falwell Jr. It's time to bring the funk. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. Yeah, it's on go, roll, y'all. Yeah, it's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, folks. A number of online folks have been running these various ads targeting Donald Trump. Now, many of these organizations have been nailing him. One of those, of course, is Project Lincoln. They have been getting under Donald Trump's skin. Of course, he's really upset after this weekend when he had his so-called big rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 19,000-seat venue, but it was only a third field. And boy, his camp is blaming protesters for blocking the entrances. They even, of course, you even had these teenagers these K-pop folks who also got themselves a bunch of tickets to boost up the numbers and making them think they actually had 1 million requests. Boy, this has been pretty hilarious. And so Project Lincoln put together these videos. Watch this. They've been really ticking Donald Trump off.
Before Donald Trump comes to Tulsa, remember what real leaders sound like.
Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice.
Too often we honor swagger and bluster and the wielders of force. Too often we excuse those who are willing to build their own lives on the shattered dreams of other human beings.
Now those who divide speak.
And I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow and segregation forever.
I agree that looters ought to be shot, yes.
On sight?
On sight. The Negro and white citizen of this state are against the breakdown of law and order.
You have to dominate the streets. Please don't be too nice. Very fine people on both sides.
When you hear leaders speak, you know who they are, who they represent, and what kind of America they'll create. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hey, Donald, your campaign manager told you 1 million fans wanted to come to your first big rally. Turnout in Tulsa? A dud. You've probably heard this before, but it was smaller than we expected. It sure wasn't as big as you promised. Honestly, we're not surprised. We've seen that you're shaky, can't keep your polls up, and it's getting worse. You talk a big game.
The event in Oklahoma is unbelievable. The crowds are unbelievable. They haven't seen anything like it.
And can't deliver. Sad, weak, low energy. Just like your presidency. Just like you. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Oh, isn't he so sad? Joining us right now is John Weaver, one of the founders of Project Lincoln. John, glad to have you here. Project Lincoln, a group of longtime Republicans who have been embarrassed and ashamed at not just Donald Trump, but also the Republicans who allow him to do what he does.
That's right. I mean, we're not just going after the president for all of his conduct and behavior that you chronicled so well, but he wouldn't be this powerful party in so many seconds had he suffocated himself.
Hold tight 1 second, John. Hold on 1 second. We're having a slight issue with your audio. So, folks, if y'all could go ahead and get that resolved and then let me know when it's fixed. Okay? Do we have the audio fixed? All right, just let me know when you have the audio fixed, and then we'll get that taken care of. I want to introduce my panel, Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver. She's a political analyst. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor to the Environmental Justice EPA. Also Eugene Craig, CEO of the Eugene Craig Organization, and also a member of Project Lincoln. So let me know when we have John's audio fixed. Eugene, I want to start with you before I go back to John once we have that fixed. I mean, this has been driving Donald Trump crazy. He literally spent a lot of time at his rally trying to beat back a couple of the ads that they've dropped because they've been just hammering him. They're in his head. Eugene, your mic is probably muted. You got to unmute your mic.
Talk about the residual multiplier of going at Donald Trump the way you have to go at him. What's been missing from the
Hold on, same thing. Hold tight 1 second. Same thing. Lots of feedback on your system. Guys, get Eugene fixed. I want to go back to John Weaver. John Weaver, so folks, please get the audio straight for our panelists. John, back to you. You're making your comments. Go ahead.
No, I mean, we're obviously going to go right at Donald Trump every day until actually January 20th, when Vice President Biden is sworn in as president. But much of the problem we're facing in this country is that we have a Republican Senate that has subjugated themselves to Donald Trump, and they have enabled him and his worst instincts. And generally, all you hear from them are crickets, quite frankly. It's shameful behavior, and we're going to prosecute the case against them just as well.
And I mean, look, this is a significant piece here because obviously he despises never-Trumpers. But the reality is, John, there are a lot of Republicans who fell in line, who frankly have been drunk with power. And that's really what this has all been about. They'll complain privately about Donald Trump, but then go right ahead. I mean, even though John Bolton is running around with his book right now, I mean, the Donald Trump you see today, we knew in 2015. We knew in 2011 when he was a birther. But Bolton wanted to work for him. Look, I get Senator Mitt Romney all of a sudden trying to make the case and complaining about Trump. But Mitt Romney actually interviewed and wanted to be his Secretary of State. And so where I come from, if you know who a person is, you don't want to associate with them at all.
Well, look, Roland, I was watching the SEC Nation the other day, and I forget who said this, but if someone tells you who they are, believe them. Don't try to convince yourself that that there's somebody else. And like you, I fought against Donald Trump since he first arrived on the political scene. And I knew he was a racist and a fraud and a jerk. And unfortunately, I think partly out of careerism and cowardice, the Republican Party rolled over for him. He only wanted to rent it. He treats the Republican Party like it's a rented car, and they still subjugate themselves to him. But from our viewpoint, because it is our party that has rolled out the carpet for him and allowed him to roam the countryside like a zombie from Out of the Living Dead, we have an obligation to fight back, and not just against him, but against the people who allowed this to happen.
Well, especially when you look at Senator Lindsey Graham, who had all these things to say about Donald Trump when he was running, and now all of a sudden, oh, he's just fabulous and he's wonderful. And then you have, of course, Mitch McConnell. All he cares about are confirming judges, and he'll do whatever. And then what happened to the Freedom Caucus, the so-called, fiscal conservatives? They've said nothing about the exploding debt that has happened as well. I mean, what he has done is he has simply just snatched the guts out of all of these people who were so-called principled, including what I call these fake conservative evangelicals who support this guy.
Well, as you and I both know, and I think we've talked about it before, much of the evangelical movement is based on race. And I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying that, but that is indeed the case. And he didn't just take their courage or their spine. With a lot of these Republican office holders, I think he holds their testicles in a jar on their desk. I mean, what are they afraid of? Being tweeted at? What are they going to tell their children and their grandchildren during this time period what they did? It's remarkably shameful, and we're obviously angry about it, but we're trying to be focused and bring about a message that can attract enough Republicans and disaffected Republicans and independents to make sure that we don't have a close election in the fall.
And y'all have been putting out a number of these ads, and so the goal is to raise more money, and also you're also targeting these ads to run in battleground states. Democrats only need 4 seats, a net gain of 4 seats to take over the United States Senate. Is that also part of the plan?
It is part of the plan. I mean, we're focused on an ever-growing number of U.S. Senate seats. Roland, we've run ads, I think, in 6 or 7. We're going to be involved in 3 or 4 more, and consistently in a handful. And remember, Trump became president because of 77,000 votes spread over 3 big states. But now we have a multiple number of states that he carried against Secretary Clinton that Vice President Biden either has a significant lead in or is tied in. And so, but we're also looking up and down the ballot. In Texas, the Democrats are only 5 or 6 seats away from taking over the Texas House. And look, if we get rid of Trump this cycle, we still have the Tom Cottons and the Josh Hawleys and the Ron DeSantis and the Greg Abbotts to deal with. So, there'll be future episodes of, Night of the Living Dead searching for crazy MAGA zombies. We're not dead. We're not going to be through.
All right. Well, look, we certainly we look at those ads, have run a number of those, and it is good to see that there are Republicans who say, look, we're still Republicans, but we simply cannot stand and support this disgraceful person sitting in the Oval Office.
Yeah, that's right, Roland. And look, there's a need for a center-right party in this country, but the first thing we got to do is burn the one down to the ground that doesn't care about the Constitution, the rule of law, or treating every American with the respect and love that each person in this country deserves. And until that happens, we're going to continue to fight.
All right. John Weaver, Project Lincoln, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, gig 'em.
Gig 'em. Let's go to Eugene Craig, who is, of course, a part of this. Eugene Craig, people should not underestimate this organization. Again, the ads that they're putting out can have an impact when it comes to appealing to those Republicans disaffected with Trump, but also independents.
Yeah, and the thing is this, right? You got to swing at Trump in a way that gives the same energy that Trump sends out, and that's what Project Lincoln's doing. It's something that the Republicans haven't done, and something the Democrats haven't done, and it's a wide open lane that has to be occupied. And it's something that I'm really excited about. And I'll tell you this: it's something that there are a lot of Black Republicans that aren't Trumpers, that have been around for a while. By for a while, I mean, they put their time into the party, and they're looking up and they're seeing, hey, this is the party I subscribe to. And look, they have a home they can find here at Project Lincoln, and probably another organization that may pop up. But the thing is this: you got to swing at Trump, and you got to swing at Trump. Yeah, you got to swing at him hard. I love Michelle Obama, and I do think in most circumstances, when they go low, you go high. But when it comes to Donald Trump, the only way to take him down is when he go low. You have to take him to the ground.
Look, Avis, Eugene is absolutely right. Look, let's just be real clear. Republicans know how to do messaging. It goes all the way back to Reagan's right-hand man. They understand bumper sticker slogans. They understand those things. In fact, folks, we're going to have in another. But guys, if y'all could get that Confederate ad ready from Lincoln, from the Lincoln Project, it's a perfect example when they set it up: America or Trump. I mean, it's about messaging to an audience and framing it in a way that they actually understand, Avis.
Mm-hmm. It absolutely is. I have to say, I love Lincoln Project. I'm like their biggest fans. I'm already looking for the next commercial to come out, specifically because of not only how they frame and how clear and stark their messaging is, but they understand the importance of visual. They understand the importance of innuendo. If you look at, for example, the particular ad, that one of the ones that you showed just a few minutes ago, where they are talking about him coming back home after the Tulsa rally, and they're making references, quite frankly, to his manhood being less than what one might have thought, given his vocalizing about it. I mean, they are directly not just attacking him as a politician, as a president, but they're attacking his manhood. Why do I like that? I like that because I agree with what Eugene says. You have to hit this person the way he hits. You have to take him down. You have to really just get at his self-esteem, in essence. I mean, you got to play rough. You got to play hard. And the thing is, the Democrats, why are we we're what, about 48 hours away from the Tulsa event, and I've not heard anything from the Democratic Party about that.
But Mustafa, that's not Democrats. I mean, look, let's just cut to the chase. Democrats want to play nice. Democrats want to do things in a fair way. That's what they do. They also, you're absolutely right. I mean, these folks put that thing together. Matter of fact, they've dropped 2 ads in 48 hours, okay? 2 of those ads we ran, the first one ran before Tulsa. The other 2 ran after Tulsa. That's how you have to be in the news cycle. You have to be quick. You have to respond quickly. And you're absolutely right, Mustafa. I don't understand why I'm not seeing these ads come from the DNC. I don't understand. I mean, first of all, the Biden campaign, they've been very good with their ads, but you need other entities. What about all these damn progressive organizations, all the millions and millions and millions that they're spending, okay? Where's their rapid response ads where they're able to go viral online when you're talking about 6 and 8 and 10 and 15 million folks watching them? And so, thank goodness the Lincoln Project. Now, look, again, folks, the rally is, are they Republicans? Yes. At the end of the day, look, some folks who were your enemy last week could be your enemy this week, because if you've got a like-minded enemy, fine, you both take them out, and then you can fight with them next year, but you take this one out right now. But yeah, Democrats had better understand, forget that Michelle Obama stuff, when they go low, we go high. No, when they go low, you go lower.
Yeah, way too many Democrats, they're sort of like they're a Grey Poupon instead of keeping it real and keeping it gully. I mean, if that's what, Trump wants to get down with, folks got to get down with him the exact same way. And as you said, it's got to come from multiple directions. It's amazing. You got hundreds of millions of dollars that go into campaigns. And when you don't see folks effectively creating messaging, and you don't even have to frame a different narrative, Trump gives you everything you need to show that his policies and his actions in many instances are lethargic. Some people might say impotent in some ways to go with the flow from the Lincoln Project. So we just got to make sure that people are getting focused and that it's coming from multiple storytellers, because you need that so that it reaches different audiences and they see themselves not only reflected in the impacts that have been happening, but also reflected in how change can actually happen.
In fact, we put together, folks, a compilation video of different groups that have been targeting Donald Trump. Watch this.
Nobody respects women more than I do. Do you have any questions?
I have two questions.
No, it's okay. Next, please.
But you called on me.
I love women. I cherish women. She's shocked that I picked her.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
I have great respect for women. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
The way he treats the female reporters is different.
Sit down. You know you're a fake. You know that.
Caitlin Collins was banned from a late afternoon press event because the White House didn't like a question she asked the president.
Women! I love the women. April Ryan. You talk about somebody that's a loser. You're so disgraceful. That's a racist question. Keep your voice down. I'm not responding to you. I'm talking to this gentleman.
The way he reacts is different, and I think it's time to say so.
What is the secret of your success?
The president was given or inherited a large portion of his father's real estate fortune, worth at least $413 million today.
9 out of 10 people don't like what they do. They go from job to job, ultimately becoming nothing.
You'll absolutely love Trump steaks.
The 3 Atlantic City casinos filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
2 years after it opened, the company was history.
It never made a profit.
Trump University was fraudulent.
His family's charity accused of misusing funds.
Shakespeare said, never follow an empty wagon up here. Never follow an empty wagon, because nothing ever falls off.
Donald Trump is playing pretend again, saying he's the one to take on China. They can't wait. They know who Donald Trump is. Weak, corrupt, ridiculed. China beats him every time. No matter what he says, China's got his number. Trump even begged Chinese leader Xi to help him win re-election, like a dog. Trade negotiations? China won. Trump's tariffs, they laughed as Trump hit American families with higher taxes. Trump's trade war, farms and small businesses went bankrupt. China's military, expanding without American leadership in the region. President Xi, Trump rolls over for China's president every time. Is it Ivanka's secret deals in China? Is it the $250 million debt Trump owed the Bank of China? It doesn't matter, because when it comes to Trump, China can't lose. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Now, the general says, "Sir, we can now leave the stage." I say, "Great, General, let's go. I'll follow you." And he goes like this, "Right here, sir." I said, "General, there's no way I can make it down that ramp without falling on my ass, General." So I said, "Is there like something else around?" "Sir, the ramp is ready to go." So now I have a choice. I can stay up there for another couple of hours and wait till I'm rescued. Or I can go down this really steep, really, it's an ice skating rink. It's brutal. So I said, "General, get ready, because I may grab you so fast." Now he's standing there, big, strong guy, and he's got these shoes, but they're loaded with rubber on the bottom. Because the first thing I did, I looked at his shoes. Then I looked at mine. Very, very slippery. So I end up saying, "Okay, General, let's go. I will only grab you if I need you." And the stage was higher than this one. And the ramp was probably 10 yards long. This was a steel ramp. It had no handrail. It was like an ice skating rink.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States.
men who followed this flag 150 years ago knew what it meant. Treason against their country. The death of the United States. America defeated the men who followed that flag. Those with honor surrendered and cast it aside forever. So why does it keep showing up today at events supporting Donald Trump? And why does he call the folks who carry it very fine people?
I think there's blame on both sides, but you also had people that were very fine people.
What does it say that they're all in for Trump? What does it say that he won't condemn a flag of hate, division, and losers?
Will not replace us!
For us, it says this is a time for choosing America or Trump.
Is this who we are? Is this who we want to be? Is this what we want to pass on to our children and our grandchildren? Fear, anger, finger pointing? Or do we want to be the America we know we can be? The America we know in our hearts we could be and should be. You know, I've said from the outset of this election that we're in the battle for the soul of this nation. American history isn't a fairy tale with a guaranteed happy ending. The battle for the soul of this nation has been a constant push and pull for more than 240 years. In some of our darkest moments of despair, we've made some of our greatest progress. We stand together, finally as one America, we'll rise stronger than we were before. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Again, you might say those are petty ads, Eugene, but this is what you got to do to Trump. You got to sit here and you got to be petty with him because he's petty.
How the earlier season of Game of Thrones was. Anybody can get it at any time for anything. That's how Trump operates, and that's how you have to operate with him. You can't, I said, we said it back during the election cycle. You cannot, the issue with everybody that ran against Trump, Republican and Democrat, is that they were trying to be presidential while he was trying to be a street fighter. The only way you can do with a street fighter is by being a street fighter. Sometimes you got to knock him the hell out. And that's what you got to do with Trump. You got to stab him up. You got to cut him up. You got to shank him up. And that's the only way you'll beat him. This election is going to be won on the margins. And that's what black folk and non-black voters. It's going to be one of the margins. And ads like this is how you increase that margin. It's how you lock in voters early. It's how you make sure black men don't, decide that, 10-15% of them don't decide that they want to go and vote for Trump because they're reminded, hey, this guy is not just a closet racist, an overt racist.
And not only that, of course, viral videos are critically important. Over the weekend, a 3-minute video of activist in Gary Chambers out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, went viral. Millions of people saw him snap it on Connie. Watch this.
So I had intended to get up here and talk about how racist Robert E. Lee was, but I'm going to talk about you, Connie, sitting over there shopping while we talking about Robert E. Lee. This is a picture of you shopping while we talking about racism and history in this country. Only white members of this board got up while we were up here talking too, because you don't give a damn, and it's clear. But I'm gonna tell you what the slaves, my ancestors, said about Robert E. Lee, since you don't know history, sister. Let me tell you that they said when he got the plantation, after he got off the field where 27,000 people died at Gettysburg, Connie, Robert E. Lee was a brutal slave master. Not only did when he whooped the slaves, he said, lay it on them hard. After he said, lay it on them hard, he said, put brine on them so it'll burn them. That's what Robert E. Lee did. And you set your arrogant self in here and sit on there shopping while the pain and the hurt of the people of this community is on display because you don't give a damn and you should resign. You should have resigned 2 years ago when you choked a white man in his house. You should have resigned 2 weeks ago when you got on TV and said foolishness. And you should walk out of here and resign and never come back because you are the example of racism in this community. You are horrible. Now to the rest of the board. You have an obligation to the people of this community. And 81% of them are black. And do you need a Klan rally outside, Mr. Godet, before you end it? Because holding it up means that you put that building in jeopardy. You do, sir. Because all over the country, they're burning stuff down. And black folks in this city have stood with protesters. I ain't seen you elected officials out there with them, making sure that nothing goes south in Baton Rouge. It's been folks in this community who give a damn, not just when it's comfortable, but every time. And 4 years ago, we came down here. Mr. Drake, they say you're a good man. Be a good man. Black folks say you're a good man. White folks say you're a good man. Your legacy is attached to tonight, brother. Your legacy. Now, let me say to the black members of the board, it's the most solidarity I've seen out of y'all in forever. Let's keep it that. Let's stand on this moving forward. Because we don't need to apologize for Connie, Evelyn. She showed you who she was when she was...
Oh, love it. He was calling for East Baton Rouge Parish School Board member Connie Bernard to apologize. She later did so, and she said, no, I wasn't shopping. There was a pop-up ad, and I was trying to figure out how to get rid of it. She lied because she was scrolling down on the ad. Gary Chambers is the publisher and advocate for the Rouge Collection. He joins us right now. Gary, you all up in Connie's ass.
Well, brother, you know, sometimes that's what it requires.
Well, the thing that gets me is she lying in her apology. She was scrolling down. She was scrolling down. She was shopping. She didn't want to hear none of that.
She's sitting next to a black woman, Evelyn Ware Jackson, who serves on the school board with her. And while Evelyn is expressing her sentiments about Robert E. Lee, Connie is sitting there scrolling and shopping. And for me, it really just pissed me off. And I just could not contain just letting them have the unadulterated truth. And what you guys saw is a reflection, in my opinion, of what we as black folks deal with when we deal with our government. That here black folks show up pleading our case about why we should do something to change something that is clearly systemic and structural. And we got a school board member who's just sitting there saying, the hell with what y'all doing. I'm going to just go shopping while y'all are pleading your hearts out to us, the government.
You also made a point. You said that 81% area. How many white board members are on this school board, and how did that happen?
So let's talk about that in a real way. So Baton Rouge first of all, we had the longest standing desegregation case in the country. That's number one. And the school district encountered white flight like never before in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whenever desegregation began to happen. Catholic schools and private schools started opening in Baton Rouge. And so white folks left the system and they never came back. And so now the school system is 81% black. The city of Baton Rouge is 56% black. We have parishes rather than counties. So our parish is 47 and 47, yet our school board is a 9-member board with 5 white Republicans and 4 black Democrats. Our city council, Roland, is 12 members. It is 7 white and 5 black in a city that is majority black. And so it's extreme gerrymandering. And so it's important that we take the census as black folks so that we can get more seats. But we have got to be pressing the gas on these people every day, because this is what builds an inequitable system.
Well, you're absolutely right. And again, the fact that they are holding the power, and the reality is their children are not going to these school systems. And this is also, I mean, we saw the same thing in Ferguson. They just got their first black mayor. This is a 67% black city.
So this is our second black mayor. Mayor Sharon Weston Broome is our second black mayor. But we have watched inequities, whether it is DBEs, disadvantaged business enterprises. I started advocacy about 5 years ago as a small business owner. I was watching how white-owned companies were getting 98 and 97% of the contracts in the city of Baton Rouge. And the Baton Rouge Area Chamber was in support of Baton Rouge being a thriving and growing place, and the chamber still being silent about Connie Bernard resigning. And that breeds a culture of division. It breeds a culture of inequity and a lack of progress. And if we are not, as you say, on their ass, right, then we will continue to have a foot up ours until we demand that they do something different.
And it's about the money. That at the bottom line, it's about the money. I keep telling people when Maynard Jackson, when he ran for mayor of Atlanta, African Americans were getting 0.0012% of all city contracts. And then the other day I saw some Republican tweeted, "Oh, look at all of these black mayors you've had in Atlanta." I said, don't get confused. White folks in Atlanta still want to be able to control the money. And the only reason they have not been able to keep controlling the money because those black mayors used the power of that airport and said, nope, we're going to ensure we open these doors. And that's what this boils down to is. That is, they say, look, we might lose the demographic numbers, but if we control the money, we control the city, the school board, the state, the nation.
And so, Roland, I did a video about a week ago where I was talking about I don't believe that there are black meccas. I know that folks have advocated that Atlanta's a black mecca and D.C. was a black mecca at one point, because at the end of the day, those cities are municipalities that are still checked by their state government. And so a state like Louisiana, which is 34% black, a city like Baton Rouge, which is 56% black, when you look at a majority black city that still has a majority white council, or when you look at Atlanta, where voter suppression is still in operation because Kemp, the governor, was the Secretary of State, suppressed the vote, and then when he's governor, we've got black folks standing in line like that. As long as the checks and balances are above us and they have the power of the state legislature, we are still in a battle. And so we've got to be deliberate about all politics being local and not just voting in this presidential election where Donald Trump, Agent Orange, is doing his thing. We've got to focus in on the people where that federal money and that state money comes down to the local level.
Yep.
Our school board in Baton Rouge is a $425 million budget. Our city of Baton Rouge is a $900 million budget. The state of Louisiana is a $27 billion budget. And when you talk about those resources and 95% of those monies going to white businesses, well, that explains why black folks don't have the same level of income as white families, because the companies that we own do not get fed into by our tax dollars. And the assault on us is that they are taxing us, right, without giving us equal representation.
But this is also why, and when I did the State of Black America report in Indianapolis, this was October, and I said, if you were or are a public worker, stand up. Probably about 80% of the room stood up. And I tried to walk them through this thing. And I said, do y'all understand who actually controls Wall Street? And people looked at me like I was crazy. I said, this is who controls Wall Street, pension funds.
Yes, sir.
I said, pension funds are the ones who give billions of dollars to hedge funds. And I was on a call the other day on this exclusive app called Clubhouse, and a whole bunch of venture capitalists on there. And somebody asked me the question, they said, how do we change the VC world? I said, see, you focus on the wrong thing. You can't change the VC world unless you change the pension world. I said, because see, and then I said, where does the money come from in the pension world? It comes from the public workers. So really what has to happen, Gary, we've got to get these black folks who are public workers, who are retired teachers and police officers and firefighters and secretaries and janitors to say, you need to be mobilizing, saying, we're tired of all these white folks controlling the pension funds. We need to see black lawyers, black bondholders. I said, all of us, I said, if that level of people rise up, then you change the pension boards, then you change the Wall Street, then you change the venture capitalists. I said, it comes down to the money.
Yes, sir. And it starts at the grassroots level is what you're talking about. It starts at the local level because that's where we have the rubber meets the road. And if we stand up and use our power, we can effectuate change all over this country. I think we see it happening. I think that there is, I would say it like this, Roland. We don't all wake up at the same time in the morning, and all black folks don't become woke at the same time. But I do believe that the things that are happening in this country are waking some of us up. Our young people that are showing up in the streets protesting consistently and agitating against the police. Well, the longer that a police officer stays on the clock, I know you may think he's getting paid overtime. but he can't go home to his family and sleep. And in a COVID environment where cities' budgets are stretched, you're going to stretch that city's budget even further. And so we've got to be deliberate in every area. And what your suggestion is, well, those that have retirement plans and pension funds, you do your part at your level. Maybe your level isn't getting in the streets, but it's getting on the phone with your public officials and saying enough is enough.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now, first of all, you got to be shocked at how this thing has spread. I mean, I saw entertainers and others. I mean, look, Morning Joe reached out to you, all the rest of these people. And see, here's my whole deal. I'm glad those folks are posting those videos. But the reality is, I need them posting that kind of stuff every day, using their influence. And for the Morning Joes of the world to be calling folk like you on a regular basis versus having the Donnie Deutsches of the world saying the same bullshit he normally trickles out all the time. No, have real people who are on the ground speak. See, I ain't got a problem. The show is called Unfiltered.
I appreciate it, brother. You know, and I quoted Pimp C this morning on Morning Joe because, you know, we out here, they rapping about it and we out here paying the price. And everyday advocates all over the country are doing their part on the local level. And so when I saw the shout out from LeBron James, man, I had to go and check it out and find out was it real for myself. Somebody sent me the screenshot. I was like, this can't be real, because folks like me on the local level, we don't get to have these types of conversations.
Right.
We're fighting this fight every day. And so if I could, I would just say to LeBron, to Miss Ava DuVernay, to all of those people, call me and let's have a conversation about how we mobilize your resources and your influence on a local level all over the country. 55% of Black folks live in the Deep South. Let's take the South over and create a new Black South. I'm about that, but I think that we've got to realize that there are those of us who do this work on a grassroots level that can lean information in with those resources. And when we bring in every aspect of what we do as Black folks, we already know we magical, but how are we going to be powerful with that magic? And what are we going to do? My homeboy Ryan Thompson has a quote. He says, we treat our entertainers and rappers like scholars and our scholars like entertainers. And until we get to the point where we treat our people in our community that do this work with the honor, and listen, I appreciate the love and support, brother. I am mobilizing right now because I want to go all over the Deep South and train new Black leaders, because what you see is the passion of young people. And it's no disrespect to those who came before, but some of them have stayed over their due. And I'm 34, Roland. I'm not going to be 70 fighting these same battles. And I'm going to have that same tenacity. But we got to pass this knowledge down, because there's brothers like Cleve Dunn and Edmund Jordan in Baton Rouge who shared knowledge with me when I was 29 years old and said, hey, brother, you got this media platform, but you ain't doing nothing with it. Lean in for your people, right? And so I've been doing this for the last 5 years, but we can turn this up. The beauty of this moment is, I think, like I said, we don't all wake up at the same time, but I do think that alarm clock is going off, brother.
Well, I'll say this here. First of all, I saw Ava's tweet where she said, man, who is this brother? And then I went to your Twitter feed and I saw you were following me and your email was on there, and I sent her your email.
Wow, I appreciate that, brother.
And so
I met you at Essence a few years ago, and I'm definitely going to drop that picture. I know you meet a lot of people, but I've been a fan for years, brother, because you've been speaking truth to power in a way that many people don't appreciate. And for folks like me on the local level who need Black folks to tell our stories, Black man, I appreciate you and I love you to the moon for what you do. And I know that the reason you're not on CNN is because you are unapologetically Black. And we as Black folk got to say, Roland Martin is important to our culture. Roland Martin is important to our people. And we got to stand up with this Black man, because he's putting our platform out there where we can tell it without having to be sugarcoated. Roland, I put my Connie, go home Connie shirt on because I was coming on here with you, because she got to go, baby. She got to go.
Absolutely.
She got to go.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, when you talk about all the Karens of the world, and trust me, I think you about to add
Karen Mama.
You about to add, you about to add the Connies to the world. And y'all do me a favor. See, this is just so y'all know. See, I pay attention to everything. This is when I knew, when I saw the video, before Gary said a word. Y'all play the video. Look at Gary's left hand. He had the pimp hand position. He knew he about to smack y'all. Look, watch the left hand right there. Right there. See, right there. Look, see, I need y'all to see. I need y'all to see. Come on back. Y'all need to see. Y'all see what he did? He put the hand out, then he extended the hand like, now I'm about to smack the hell out of you right now.
Because I got you.
Oh, yeah.
I got you.
Absolutely.
We're going to get the business clear. And Roland, let me say this, brother. We as black folk cannot continue to let these folks slide. We are voters. We are taxpayers. Every time you go to the store and spend $1, the government is taking some of your money. Your check, the government is taking some of your money. Your property, the government is taking your money. Even if you are a renter, when you pay your taxes, the people who pay the property taxes, take your rent money to pay those property taxes. So I'll be damned if we ought to be quiet and we ought to stand in their face and agitate them. Roland, there were young black protesters in Baton Rouge that took a protest to the district attorney's house because he ain't doing nothing about the injustices. And I want to talk to you at another time about the Baton Rouge 3 because Trump's DOJ is attempting to overcharge 3 young black people who committed simple arson, and now they're being charged with, what is it called? Interference with interstate commerce by Brandon Freeman, the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Louisiana. Okay. Well, I just had to get that in there because it's important because they are attempting to overcharge these people.
Well, we'll certainly have you back on, talk about that. And one of the reasons we created this platform, because there are a lot of activists like you who don't get called on national television unless a video picks up millions of followers. And so we've had many folks like you on for that very reason, to be able to bring light to sort of some of these issues. So we certainly will have you back, Gary Chambers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Do good and seek justice.
Yes, sir. Thanks a bunch. All right, folks. Look, what you just heard is why this platform matters, and that's why we need you to support what we do. Folks, I came in today, and these, of course, these are actually envelopes of people have actually mailed in money orders to be members of our Bring the Funk fan club. We've got Raymond and Veronica Short Jr. Sent me, they contributed. They said, thank you for your determination, educational, and professional preparation, which caused you to create the Roland Martin Unfiltered program. I enjoy the guests and his or her diverse perspective. And as a Howard University alumni, I love to listen to Dr. Carr. And then, so they wrote that. Then we said, thank you for your platform and your program, Shirley Williams. And Gabrielle Williams, originally from Nacogdoches, Texas. We had, of course, right here, Noni Harrison. Your daily digital show is a service that is unsurpassed. I am truly a fan and have been for years. Please accept the cashier's check as an enormous thank you. Your light shines bright. God bless you. Another letter here. This is from Bonita Briggs. I love your show and all that you are doing to keep us informed and educated on the happenings of our time. I wish I could afford to donate more, but this is the best I can do at this time. And Bonita, we appreciate no matter what size the donation is. Also, I just want to read just a couple of more. I'm so happy you are back on the air. Thank you for there was no name on that one. This is from Marvin Bryant, who wrote, thank you for your knowledge of history information. Keep us with the facts via receipts and doing so with a great sense of humor. And so, folks, if you want to join our Bring the Funk fan club, do understand every dollar you give goes to support this show. Pull it up, please. You can give via Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. Come on, folks, let's go. Y'all, I was doing this. Y'all should have been ready. Let's go. Pull it up. Cash App. Thank you very much. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is paypal.me/R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. Of course, if you also want to send a cashier's check, you can do so. New Vision Media, Inc., 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., 2006. Please make it out to New Vision Media so we can deposit it properly. I've got so many other letters. I'll read some of those later this week as well. I want to go back to my panel real quick here. What you just heard there, Mustafa, what Gary laid out is exactly what the fundamental issue is. We must be in a position to challenge authority, and what he did to Connie and calling out those black board members and those white board members, that needs to be more of that. And I keep telling people, I keep saying to, look, you in Alpha, I am as well, brothers in black and gold, people in crimson and cream, people in pink and green and all these colors, people who are not Greek, 100 black men, ladies of distinction. We should be just hitting these school board meetings and city council meetings and county commissioners meetings so they can feel our power and our presence.
Yeah, no, I appreciate Gary. He was pulling receipts on people left and right. And, you know, and that is definitely a part of the process to hold people accountable and let folks know, you know, what time it really is. But the other part of it is us, as you said, getting engaged. You know, we should be running the school boards. We should be making sure that we are running candidates for the school boards. We should be also making sure that we're preparing people to be the next judges and supporting those judges who actually, you know, care about what's happening inside of our communities. There should be no sheriffs. There should be, you know, no police chiefs coming into the mix that have not been vetted by our communities. We know the impacts when we are not doing that. So why don't we flip the script and make sure that before people get these jobs, that we are fully engaged in the process, letting people know that we were going to hold them accountable, but also what we are expecting from them. Lots of times when we don't let people know what our expectations are, they think they can play with us.
Avis, at the end of the day, again, mobilization, challenging authority where we are and using our power is critical.
Absolutely it is. And I was so proud to see him take Connie and then entire school board to task. And, you know, as you mentioned, this is exactly what we need to be doing all across the country. And I love the fact that, you know, he was fully in his power as he was doing so. And we're already seeing what's happening as a result. I mean, she's having to come back and lie about the apology. But the bottom line is the specific issue that he was talking about. I can guarantee you that the name of that high school is going to change. I can guarantee you it's going to happen. And that's what it takes. It takes people who are willing to stand up, speak truth to power, and let the chips fall where they may and fight for what they want. And that's that's really what's required to create change all around this country at every level of government, from the grassroots right on up to the top.
Look, folks, this impacts everything that we do, including COVID-19. As of today, there are 2.2 million cases of COVID-19 in the United States. 27,000 of those cases are new. 119,923 people have died from the disease. 308 of those deaths are new. Now, of course, among the many ignorant remarks made by Donald Trump at his rally on Saturday, watch this one.
Here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people. You're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please. They test and they test. We got tests that people don't know what's going on. We got tests. We got to know.
Now, after the rally, the Trump campaign said, we were just joking. Eugene, who the hell jokes about something that has killed nearly 120,000 Americans?
That's not a joking matter. And this is coming from the alleged most pro-life president ever, right? The one that now can account for 122,000 deaths, which very well may go up to 200,000 deaths by the time the election rolls around here. You don't joke about something like that, you know, and then you also don't lie about it. You know, President Trump and Vice President Pence were asking the governors to go out and lie and say, oh, the issue is that we're doing more testing, so the rates are going up. But that doesn't account for the hospitalization rates or the death rates. And so the thing is this. When Donald Trump asks Black America, what do you have to lose? It's literally your life. Literally, when it comes to COVID, when it comes to the racial tension in the country right now, it's literally your life. You know, our community is more susceptible to it and has a disproportionate death rate. And look, and the thing is this, it could have been preventable. You know, they could have came out in March and in February, March said, hey, everybody mask up. They could have in February, March, you know, started deploying tests and figuring out, you know, where to procure them and get them out there to help save lives. But what this president did was he discounted the virus, you know, tried to racialize it. And then on top of that, delayed his response to it. And now we're seeing 122,000 deaths. And he thinks it's okay to get up at a rally and joke about it and joke about the slowing down because that's what he thinks helps him politically. I mean, that should be a call to arms for every single person to make sure they vote in November.
Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton, she is Associate Professor of Anesthesiology and Critical Care Medicine at the University of Virginia and Medical Director of Goodstock Consulting, LLC. We also saw, we also saw over the weekend where D.L. Hughley announced that he also has COVID-19. We're trying to get Ebony's audio fixed. Folks, let me know when we actually have her audio. And for the people out there, look, I get people are running around and they are wanting to go to bars, and then wanting to go to pools, and then wanting to go out and do all these sort of things. But folks need to understand that this thing is real. DL was performing over the weekend. He collapsed on stage. They initially said dehydration. This is a video that he put out this weekend.
Hey, it's me, D.L. Hughley. I'm just being released from St. Thomas Hospital in Nashville. I want to thank them for taking such good care of me. I want to thank you all for your well wishes and your prayers, and you comedians who call and said such evil things when I was scared to death. Thank you too. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for your prayers and well wishes. When I came, I was being treated for extreme exhaustion and dehydration, which I was very dehydrated. But it turns out they ran a battery of tests, and I also tested positive for COVID-19, which blew me away. I was what they call asymptomatic. I didn't have any symptoms that, other classic symptoms. I didn't have flu-like symptoms. I didn't have shortness of breath. I didn't have difficulty breathing. I didn't have a cough. I didn't have a low-grade fever. I still don't have a fever. I didn't have a loss of smell or taste. Apparently, I just lost consciousness. So, in addition to all the other stuff you have to look out for, if your ass pass out in the middle of a show on stage, you probably need to get tested. So, I am going back to my hotel room to quarantine for 14 days. And, well, thank you for your prayers and your well wishes. And a few more of them wouldn't hurt. So hopefully I won't develop symptoms. Maybe this is as bad as it gets and I'll just pass out over and over again, or not. But thank you. I appreciate your thoughts and your prayers, and they did not go unnoticed or unfelt. Thank you.
So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
The government's initial response to the pandemic has cost American lives.
Trump himself ignored warnings about the virus, making the U.S. slow to react. Dr. Anthony Fauci admits government inaction may have cost American lives. If we would have done more sooner, more people would have lived.
Started mitigation earlier, you could have saved lives. There was a lot of pushback about shutting things down back then.
So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
Dr. Ebony Hilton, that surely has to piss you off that this man stood there and then came back and said, oh, no, I was joking.
Right. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And even when he says, this whole slow the testing down, yes, we performed 28 million tests in the United States, but that all depends on how many people you actually have living in your country. So we have 320 million people living in the United States. So we compare that to how we rank worldwide. We rank 26 as far as how many tests we've tested per million people. So you can't clap for yourself if you're 26 in the world.
Well, again, but not only that, the reality is he has previously said on numerous occasions that, we keep having these numbers showing an increase because we keep testing. That's the point of testing. Okay, D.L. Hughley now knows he's walking around with COVID-19. Right. That's why you test.
Right, exactly. And like I said, on Twitter, I wish D.L. Hughley the absolute best. And I also wish that everyone in the audience to go get tested for COVID-19 now. They also need to self-isolate. Like I said, we're 26 in the world as far as testing, but we are actually 9th in the world as far as how many people per 1 million people that we've had die from COVID-19. We're number 1 in the world for total number of cases of COVID-19 and total number of deaths for COVID-19. But Donald Trump, we already know that he doesn't make sense when he talks every day, but particularly when you're talking about in a pandemic that you're testing too many people and that you should slow down. I think the example he gave was that a 10-year-old had the sniffles, that they don't need to get tested. And I'm like, you're talking about a 10-year-old kid. He just has no bottom.
Well, again, though, but see, remember early on, remember when he did not want the folks coming off the cruise ship because he said that would increase our numbers of positive tests in the country. He doesn't want to see the bad numbers. And so now, I was just joking. No, I don't think he was joking. I think he absolutely put the clamps on it. That's why we barely seen Dr. Birx. That's why we barely seen Dr. Fauci. That's why you don't have daily reports going on. That's why Mike Pence is out there downplaying what's going on. And what's happening? Why am I weighing Houston strong? Because my people in Houston and my folks in my native city, all of a sudden, hospitals in Houston are telling doctors, discharge as many people as possible to free those beds up. The governor of Texas was so insistent on ignoring people like Mayor Sylvester Turner of Houston, ignoring the mayor of Dallas, and county judges who were saying, slow this down, we're not ready. And now all of a sudden, numbers are going up.
Mm-hmm. And Texas is not going to be alone because, in America, we like to stick together. We're united. So they're going to be united with Florida. They're going to be united with Arizona. They're going to be united with South Carolina. All those states have at least 300 to 600% increase in their number of cases since opening up their economy. And so we talk about this time and time again. You can't open up an economy against a virus of which you have no strategy because biology will always win against economy. It does not care if you make $1 or not. And so until we have testing, tracing, and treatment in place, we're going to be in this constant battle of, did we open too soon? And now what do we do? And so we're seeing in Miami, they're already talking about having to close back down. In Houston, they're going to have to start closing back down. This is not going to be a unique situation. People are going to die in droves because we're just not ready.
This is an interview today with Joe St. George of Scripps Television at the White House, where he specifically asked Trump. Now, remember, he made the comment on Saturday. His aides came back and said, oh, no, he was joking. They went out on national television. But here is Trump answering the question. Listen very closely.
On Saturday night, you said that you told your staff to slow the testing down to improve the numbers. Does that mean someone watching this right now on their local news is not going to get a test because you asked your staff?
We do more testing than any country in the world by far, 25 million tests. Other countries do 1 million. Every time you do a test, as you do more tests, it shows more and more cases. So we're so far advanced, both in terms of the quality and the amount, and we're doing all these tests and it shows cases. If other countries aren't doing, or if we did slow it down, we wouldn't show nearly as many cases. You're showing people that are asymptomatic. You're showing people that have very little problem. You're showing young people that don't have a problem. But we're doing so much testing, 25 million tests. Nobody thought that was possible.
But did you ask to slow it down?
If it did slow down, frankly, I think we're way ahead of ourselves, if you want to know the truth. We've done too good a job because every time we go up with 25 million tests, you're going to find more people. So then they say, we have more cases in the United States. The reason we have more cases because we do more testing than any other country by far.
Ebony, did you hear an answer?
I heard him say that we're doing too good of a job. And I don't, on what day ended in a Y? I mean, this is when I say that there truly does need to be a 25th Amendment because we're into dangerous territory of where this is negligence. It's not even negligence. This is criminal activity of where you are intentionally trying to slow down a process by which your citizens are depending to live and not spread a virus to other citizens within the United States. That makes it's like bioterrorism on your own people. So I need whoever does the 25th Amendment to do that part so we can do our job in the hospital, which is to try to keep as many people alive as possible. And right now we're losing that battle, and it's unnecessary.
I'm going to pull in my panel here, Mustafa. When you see what's going on here, again, what's happening in Texas, in Louisiana, in Alabama, we're seeing the cases in Florida. People need to understand that this thing is real. When I look at those photos with that woman who had a double lung transplant, Mustafa, and I see that COVID lung, I'm going, hey, y'all can go to hell with all this group get together and trying to hop on planes flying everywhere. This is still a deadly virus.
It's extremely deadly. But, you know, the problem is that the president likes to create these false narratives. You know, he built his career on being a marketer, if you really understand how he's been able to have whatever level of success that he's had. And that's because he frames out the narrative. So if he thinks if he can continue to tell people that everything is okay, if he continues to not wear masks, which sends a message across the country that, well, if the president isn't wearing one, and many of the people who are part of his cabinet aren't, then that must mean that everyday Joe or everyday Connie, then it must be okay for me to continue to, emulate this type of behavior. And for me, I'm very clear. He is responsible for the 100,000 plus lives that have been lost. And he's also responsible for the trillions of dollars that have been a part of that loss. And I don't know why folks don't call it out, because lots of times if you talk to people about their pocketbooks, that may sometimes get their attention, unfortunately, before actually focusing on all the lives that have been lost, which is, of course, where we should first be focusing.
Avis, this is June. July 4th is coming up. And the reality is this, Avis, people are going to congregate. And look, we saw the same thing when people out there protesting. I totally understood, Avis, why they were protesting, but was a huge fear in terms of what's going to happen when all of a sudden these folks come back with these positive tests.
I know. It's so disturbing and frustrating when I go out and I see people acting like this thing is over. I'm like, it isn't, okay? I do feel fortunate living in Virginia that our governor has taken responsibility with ensuring and mandating that people wear masks when they are out in public, when they are in stores. I mean, all the stores have a sign on the door. Before you come in, you must put on a mask because they are responsible. We're responsible here because we, thank God, have a governor who is responsible. But the problem is that when you don't have a president who exhibits that level of leadership, you have a great level of variance across the nation in terms of what governors actually are looking out for the health of their citizens and what governors are not. And that is disturbing. I don't know how many times I've said on this show, and I think Trump just proved it the other day, that he was intentionally not testing or trying to reduce the level of testing specifically to suppress the numbers. And he has admitted that himself. It was out of his mouth. Listen to what he said. He said what he meant what he said. It was not a joke. And the sad thing is he does not care when people die as a result.
Eugene, this is about re-election. Pure and simple. This is about Donald Trump focusing on re-election, and he does not care if Americans die.
He doesn't. It's the only thing that matters. This is what matters from day one. That's what matters now. It's sad. Lives are being lost. And you're seeing, a lot of the Sun Belt governors follow his lead. You're seeing record numbers in Florida and record numbers in Georgia, record numbers in Arizona, when you don't need to, when lives don't need to necessarily be lost. But all of this is about Donald Trump getting reelected. He needs the economy to bounce back somehow, some way, to help spar his reelection. But if that Tulsa rally this weekend was any indicator of what's to come, if he can't pack out a rally in the middle of Oklahoma, then I think that Joe Biden might have a good day in November.
Ebony, look, you and I talk a lot, we text a lot, and the bottom line is you're out here working damn near 7 days a week. I mean, you're working your job, and all of a sudden you're going out here trying to test people on the weekends, traveling all around the state of Virginia. And this is where you need to have politicians who are taking this thing seriously. But what you have is you have Republican governors who are so desperate to follow the lead of Donald Trump and keep following these crazy people who go, hey, what's the big deal, y'all? This is no biggie. And then they go into these stores. I'm trying to find the video. Somebody sent it to me of this guy who literally was about to fight Walmart workers because they said, you got to put a mask on. I mean, These people are absolutely out of their mind because they're like, I don't care. I'm not wearing a mask. Folks are dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I agree. I am very grateful that I am living in the state of Virginia. Governor Northam has been fantastic. He actually hired the first chief diversity officer, Dr. Underwood, to look at health equity amongst Black and brown communities, those in lower socioeconomic status, LGBT communities, the targeted vulnerable populations. He said, let's have a whole office dedicated to see what we can do to make sure we keep Virginians as safe and healthy as possible, which should be the ideal and goal for every state and every governor. But what we're seeing is that you literally can see where are the higher cases and what is the reopening strategy. And you can tell if that's a Democratic ran state or a Republican ran state. And that is absolutely insane. But it shows the American people what we need to do, which is in November, we have to vote these people out because they are voting along party lines and not along common sense. I mean, you don't even need scientific knowledge for this. It's just common sense.
Well, like here's this here. And again, when you see folks acting a fool, you can pretty much say, that's a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
right.
So I found the video, folks. Watch it. This is actually from a Walmart in Florida. Watch this.
Put your hands up. Bro, you gotta wear a mask, bro. Bro, these folks is tripping, bro. Hey, sir, everybody got on masks, man. Everybody got on masks, man.
You want a mask, man? I got some.
Bro, this is too funny, bro. Poor thing, man. Look, he got a look at it, bro. Bro, the man doing his job, bro. Just get a mask.
5 times right there, Ebony. That guy assaulted the Walmart worker, and the guy's like, dude, you got to put a mask on.
And the insane thing is he looks high risk just by looking at him. And that's the crazy thing is when you pledge allegiance to Trump, for lack of better words, but when you pledge allegiance to someone who has no direction and has literally is a narcissist, a malignant narcissist, and you know that he will do any and everything just for the betterment of him, then you should also know that he will put your life at risk. And so someone who knows full well they're older and likely has comorbidities on top of that, you are literally actively almost committing acts of kind of suicide. Like, why would you intentionally want to do that in Walmart of all places?
Well, but here's the deal, though. First of all, you saw that video. He's walking in, Ebony, and that's the food section. Dude, you could be breathing on food there. And in fact, this was the video from last week, from 4 days ago in Brooklyn, New York. Again, where you had one of these crazy-ass people. And the reason I'm playing these people is because, look, after the George Floyd case, we were so focused on that. But the reality is, every day we're going to keep doing these COVID-19 updates because we are being most impacted. People are still testing positive. They're still dying. Although, because cable news is not focusing on it as much as they were, it's still happening. Watch this, y'all. This was in Brooklyn, New York.
Black Lives Matter. No, you would never take this out. You need to take this out. You need to take this out. Yeah. No. Yes.
This is her establishment. This is her workplace.
Yeah.
Stop
So it's a protest. It's a protest. It's not a protest. It's a protest. I'm making a protest. I'm making a protest. Yes. Yes, I'm making a protest. All lives matter. All lives matter. All lives matter. All lives matter.
Shut up and just
Wait, you guys are allowed to make the protest. I'm not allowed to make.
Here's a guy, Mustafa. You take the Black Lives Matter sign down. And she says, no mask, no service. Now I'm trying to figure out, don't you see signs that say no shoes, no shirt, no service?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference?
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we could really simplify this. Whether on the federal level, the president, if he was serious about protecting people's lives, could work with Congress, can work with governors and others and say, we're going to have a national set of requirements. And one of those requirements is that you have to wear a mask. It's not that difficult. And they could also put some of these other things in place so there is consistency. You see, the president doesn't want consistency because with consistency comes responsibility. And he does not want to be responsible in this moment for anything. He wants to have the flexibility to say, well, they decided they didn't want to do it. So that's what it comes down to. We need leadership. And with leadership, he can make sure that the country is protected because everybody would be in agreement. And he would be actually showing by wearing his own mask that it is serious and that is a priority to get our country's economy going again, because we have to make sure that we are dealing with this virus. And once we had that taken care of, then we could focus on the economy.
All right, then. Ebony Hilton, your last comment, please.
Right. Well, with Donald Trump, I actually don't know if he's going that deep into reasons of why he doesn't. I think it's honestly, he doesn't want to necessarily be truthful about things, for one, because he doesn't know what to do. But for two, because if he does lose this election by acknowledging that he completely flopped on all of this, he can get indicted. So I honestly just think this is let me put my head in the sand. Let me hope everyone else does too, so that I can stay in office, because I can't be indicted while I'm a sitting president. But that's why we people have to be focused to say, in November, I don't care who is on a ticket and what do we have to do. We need to vote. Send in your absentee ballots. You can do your mail-in ballot now. Make those requests. Make some phone calls, get people energized, because we cannot afford to have 4 more years of this chaos. That's it.
Dr. Ebony J. Hilton, we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
All right, we'll do. Folks, when we come back, we'll talk voter suppression in Kentucky. Huge election tomorrow. How in the hell do you have normally 3,700 early voting locations or voting locations? Tomorrow will only be 200 in the entire state. And the county most populous for African Americans, 1. That's next. Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, guys, what's up with the video, please? Play the video. All right, there should be music to this. This is the slideshow, okay? I've only asked for the video for the past 4 days. All right, y'all, get that fixed, please. All right, folks, the folks at Ceek.com, we have a partnership with them, where, of course, Mary Spiel, she's the founder of Ceek, Ceek.com. She is the inventor of these 360-degree 4D headphones. Unbelievable sound. Folks, you can use this for gaming. You can also, of course, with music, videos, you name it. And so what's great about this is that the sound actually, so when you're listening, it literally travels all around your head as opposed to normal headphones. And so I really, really do like these listening to music. Like I say, they have a microphone that you can attach to it where you can use this when you're playing video games. And so they have a partnership with them. So if you want to buy these headphones, you go to Ceek.com, but use this promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020 to actually join. So please take advantage of that. Also, folks, don't forget, somebody hit me on YouTube earlier. They said they wanted us to put the graphic up again of our how to contribute to the Bring the Funk fan club. And so go ahead and pull that graphic up, and we're going to leave it up for about 20 seconds. So you see it right there. And so, okay, so if y'all look, some of y'all been hitting me up. So take a picture of it. Take a picture of it right now. Take a screenshot. Again, you can contribute via Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. You can also send in a money order to New Vision Media, Inc., 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., 2006. Leave it up right there. And again, folks, right now we got about 8,200 fan clubs. fan club members. Our goal by the end of the year is to have 20,000. So we would love to pick up another 1,800 that would get us to 10,000. And so our goal is to get our fan club members to give us $50 each. If you give more, great. If you can only give less, that's no problem. And again, because what that does is, if we hit our 20,000 goal, that means our show is completely funded. We don't have to rely on advertisers, and trust me, we got some great things we want to be doing for the election. And so please support us by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. All right, folks, let's talk about Kentucky. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell faces a re-election race there. But also remember, Democrats can just pick up 4 seats to take over the U.S. Senate. Now, there's an election tomorrow. You've got State Representative Charles Booker, who's running against Amy McGrath for the Democratic nomination, but you got a bunch of whole other positions. But what the hell's going on in that state where you're only going to have 200 early voting locations that are opened? Here's a video from the Booker campaign. Check this out.
He never saw us coming. He never saw those medical bills pile up. He never asked what we needed. He spent trillions of dollars bailing out his friends while we lined up for unemployment. He let the government abandon America, abandon Kentucky. I explained to you how these types of laws would kill people. My life matters too, Speaker.
You are out of order. Your 3 minutes are up.
My life matters too. Black Lives Matter. He never saw us coming. I grew up in 40203, the poorest zip code in the state. I've been invisible to people like Mitch McConnell my entire life. From the hood to the holler, we've all felt invisible and alone. But finally, the power of the people is beginning to show. We've seen who keeps society running. It's the black janitors, the brown cashiers, the white folks stocking the shelves. The essential people are rising up. I've seen young people become preachers, cooks, medics. I've seen folks from the mountains. Everybody wrote off, fighting to say, my life matters. Nah, I don't feel alone anymore. I've seen America's future on the streets of Kentucky, a future where survival isn't so complex. My daughters can trust the water from their faucet. Brianna's door won't get kicked in. And the air isn't so toxic it could choke me out. We don't need to be so suspicious of our neighbors. We can build a world where you don't look over your shoulder when you walk down the street. You look forward. If people need health care, the government can provide health care for all. We know the government can help people get meaningful work, rebuilding America.
From the hood to the highway! From the hood to the highway!
Another political race that is heating up.
Yesterday, the hashtag Booker beats Mitch was trending.
I have a feeling he can shock the world.
They got predictions, but you've got to vote.
We don't need people in Washington telling us who should be our candidates in Kentucky.
We need to elect our brothers, our sisters, our fellow good troublemakers. Only a movement can beat Mitch.
Who speaks our street? Who speaks?
Suddenly, he's getting nervous. Could there really be a movement in Kentucky which brings together blacks, whites, and Latinos, teachers, miners, and farmers, Republicans, Democrats, and independents standing up for working people, fighting for change?
People united.
Look me in the eyes, Mitch.
Have you seen any signs that suggests to you that Mitch McConnell is afraid of running against you?
Can you see us now?
Eugene, this race has been unbelievable in that Amy McGrath has raised $40 million. And there's a poll last week showing Booker, who's only raised about a couple of million with an 8-point lead. Now, the McGrath campaign says their internal pollings that she has a double-digit lead. But the fact that his campaign has really just surged as a result of these protests shows you this energy that is existing out there for people who want strong, authentic candidates, as opposed to a McGrath who says, I can work with Trump.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is this, right? I think the turning point of this campaign, I believe it was a debate between Booker and McGrath. And McGrath did not have an answer for Black Lives Matter, did not have an answer why she wasn't out there standing with Black Lives Matter. And look, Booker has lived this life that, all of us black men live, right? And so what you're seeing here is when a moment whose time has come, you have to have somebody that's prepared, and Charles Booker is prepared. And you're seeing movement towards this campaign. You're seeing the momentum there. You're seeing, she's raised $40 million, because, D.C. is pretty much, was ready to crown her. But the voters of Kentucky is who decide this primary, and the energy is behind Booker.
Look, Jackie, Avis, what's happening right now is this here. Booker is gaining, but the DSCC put their thumb on this race. They basically said, want anybody but him. In fact, same thing happened to State Senator Royce West, okay? His opponent, the Schumer-led DSCC, has said we're backing her. So they've chosen a white woman and Latino woman over two black men who are running in Kentucky and Texas.
Yeah, not too surprised. That oftentimes happen where the DSCC, they choose their favorites, and it's rare. It's somewhere between rare and never that their favorite is actually a black person. It's very, very, very extremely rare. So I'm not surprised that has occurred. But at the end of the day, the voters choose. The voters choose. And it would be very, very amazing and interesting if he actually ekes out a victory, because that will tell us something about the transferability of the energy from the streets to the ballot box. This is an amazing test case. We know that last time in 2016, a lot of people who were active around the Black Lives Matter movement, some of them were very vocal about the fact that they didn't vote, right? Or didn't vote for president, just voted down ballot and had some other choices. It would be really interesting to see here that as this energy is continues to mount on the street, to see the transferability of that in the ballot box would be incredible, because it would show that, yes, it's important to be out and vocal and protest for your rights, but it's also important to make sure that you also make your voices heard at the ballot box so that those two faces of power can be wielded.
We cannot underestimate the voter suppression, what is happening, because people are afraid of coronavirus there in Kentucky, Mustafa. To go from 3,700 statewide polling locations to 200 there in the county where Louisville is. They plan to use the convention center and just to line up booths. I mean, today was an early voting day, and I really hope all these black folks are in line right now, or were in line voting in Kentucky, because tomorrow is going to be an absolute mess. I can see people in line tomorrow for 5, 6, 10, 12 hours.
It's a dangerous situation, but I understand people's commitment to vote, and they understand how important it is. And there's a lot of people. So I have family that's in Kentucky. So folks are feeling the energy that Booker is bringing. And he's building this crazy, crazy powerful coalition of folks from the mountains and folks on the inner cities and all over. So the thing that's really curious is that, folks have known we're in this COVID-19 moment, but yet they refuse to, because I had a conversation with some folks and they're like, well, a lot of the elders, who usually work at our polling booths and do it. Well, if we're in this COVID-19 moment, let's get younger people, let's get middle-aged folks, who are trained up and are protected to be able to make sure that we have, these polling locations open. Of course, we all know that this is a part of the game. That when you can manipulate this, you can manipulate the turnout. And there may even be something more nefarious, which I hope there isn't, in the sense that having all these folks of color pushed into a smaller location and it being exposed to things. So I hope that that's not it. So we're not going to put that energy out there. But they could make sure that they're doing much better and making sure that there are the opportunities for folks to vote. And, we'll have to just see how it all turns out.
Joining us right now is Christian Clark, who leads the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. And Christian, on that point, look, my parents are 73. They've worked polls for decades. And yeah, I'm greatly concerned with there's a runoff coming up in Texas with the case with State Senator Royce West, but you also have November. I mean, that is legitimate. But Kentucky had enough time to prepare for this, to go from 3,700 to less than 200. I mean, that's not even 10%. That's not even 10% of your polling locations.
Yeah, and they had not turned on the TV and watched the chaos, the drama that unfolded in Milwaukee, in Atlanta, in Philadelphia, where similarly we saw the elimination or consolidation of polling sites. But this is quite dramatic, what's happening in Jefferson County, Kentucky. It almost defies logic. It's a large county. It's one of the largest in terms of its population. And for people who, have disabilities, people who don't live near public transportation, it may be challenging tomorrow. At this stage, though, we are very hopeful that everyone who wants to turn out and vote in person will have the opportunity to do so. We're out of time. Our election protection team will be working around the clock tomorrow. We encourage the public to call our nonpartisan hotline at 866-OUR-VOTE, 866-OUR-VOTE, if they encounter any problems voting at that expo center in Jefferson County or in accessing the few polling sites that will be in operation in other parts of the state. There are other elections happening tomorrow in New York and in South Carolina and Virginia. We will be working all day long. But, Roland, in the recent election in Georgia, we saw what happened when they shut down polling sites. People were confused about where to go. There were long lines, and we had to go to court to get poll hours extended. So if that's what it comes down to tomorrow, we're prepared to go into court to defend people's right to vote. But, you do wish that Jefferson County just came up with a better plan and gave people more than a single option on election day. But we will be vigilant and prepared to fight.
And that's some 600,000 people in that county that will only have one voting location. So now, you got to deal with transportation, getting to the voting location where normally you're down. And again, that's where you have more African Americans. Half of the African Americans in Kentucky live in 2 counties.
That's right. And look, I'm glad that you are spotlighting this problem. The city is actually going to run a shuttle from Union Station in Louisville to the Expo Center. If you go on the Jefferson County Board of Elections website, you can't find that information. They are not working to ensure people are armed with all the information they need to go and vote tomorrow. So I'm glad that you're shining a spotlight on this. I am hopeful that people will turn to us as a resource and call the election protection hotline at 866-OUR-VOTE. Right now, it's come down to kind of these grassroots efforts to make sure that people are armed with the information they need to get out and vote tomorrow. And, I just want to acknowledge that we're 101 days out from the tragic killing of Breonna Taylor. So I'm very hopeful that a lot of the anger that we have been seeing in Kentucky over the last several weeks will translate into high voter turnout tomorrow, because this is another way for people to exercise their voice, to show up and vote.
And again, the work of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law is extremely important because, and I tweeted this weekend to the folks, is that the reality is we can't keep saying, hey, we need folks to fight for us. We also don't have folks who are supporting, and that you're absolutely right, taking people to court, taking these states, because we're about to be into the battle for our lives. Donald Trump and Republicans, they want massive voter suppression. They are recruiting 50,000 people to be at these polls, Christian, in order to dissuade folks from voting come November. They're fighting left tooth and nail when it comes to mail-in balloting. It's real clear what they are doing, and we had better be fully prepared for the onslaught that is coming, because it is coming.
That's right. True the Vote, Judicial Watch, there are all of these well-funded, nefarious groups that have one goal, and that's to lock out people from the ballot box, African Americans, people of color, poor people. And we're in the court fighting back. We're not letting them get ahead of us. We just defeated True the Vote in an effort to deny people access to absentee ballots in Virginia, and we're going to stay on top of them and keep fighting This is one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime. Voter suppression, though alive and well, will be met with the brute force of civil rights lawyers that are determined to use the courts to make sure that everyone has voice in 2020.
I am, of course, right now. Guys, pull it up, please. Showing your graphic, Moving America Towards Justice. Where can people actually donate to the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law?
You can visit our website at www.lawyerscommittee.org and hit the donate button, or go to Cash App, Racial Justice, and make a donation to support our fight today. We need to make sure that everyone has voice in our democracy and is able to vote in 2020.
But all right, folks, going to go to a quick break. We come back. A noose found in the garage of NASCAR's only black driver, Bubba Wallace. And wait until you see the show of solidarity today by the other drivers when they're at the Talladega race. That's coming up next on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Federal authorities descended on Talladega Superspeedway today to investigate the discovery of a noose in the garage stall of Bubba Wallace. The entire industry rallied around the Cup Series' only black driver. It was Wallace who successfully pushed NASCAR to ban the Confederate flag at its venues less than 2 weeks ago. In a show of support, Wallace steered the number 43 to the front of pit row. NASCAR's champion Kyle Busch pushing the famous car on one side, and close friend Ryan Blaney pushing on the other. The entire 40-driver field and all the crew members followed. Guys, roll a video, please. NASCAR issued a statement saying the presence of the Confederate flag at NASCAR events runs contrary to our commitment to providing a welcoming and inclusive environment to all fans, our competitors, and our industry. Bringing people together around a love for racing and the community that it creates is what makes our fans and sports special. The display of the Confederate flag will be prohibited from all NASCAR events and properties. Mustafa, what did happen though, is that there were fans who were outside of the track area that was selling Confederate flags, angry with NASCAR's decision, many saying they'll stop actually going to the races. But this news, here's the deal. I've actually attended, I've covered NASCAR races. That area, the garage area, that's a secure area, okay? It's not easy to get into there. The FBI is now investigating, and I'm sure there are cameras all over the place. Look, somebody placing a noose in his garage stall, that's serious.
Yeah, and it could be considered a hate crime. You know, systemic racism has always tried to silence the voice of black folks and white allies. And, you know, I talked about that earlier today, and this is just another example. When men and women of good conscience stand up, you know, there are always going to be consequences. There are going to be those folks who are going to want to push back against that. So it was great to see, you know, all those different folks coming together. It's great to also see NASCAR doing the right thing and standing up and saying, you know, these old symbols of hate, of slavery, of trauma, they have no place in 21st century America.
Let's go to Avis. Avis, again, what you're dealing with systems. And look, NASCAR, let's be real clear. I mean, I get the change, but NASCAR encouraged the Confederate flag. It encouraged, this was a Southern sport. That's their core base. And they encouraged this for all these years. It's not going to change overnight.
No, it's not going to change overnight. And, you know, this particular event which was, I would say, it was a threat. It was a threat against his life. I believe it was meant to intimidate. and his safety was compromised if somebody was able to get into that private area. People will fight to maintain these symbols of racism. Racists will fight to maintain symbols of racism. But I certainly, feel hopeful and happy to see that level of solidarity that we're seeing on the screen right now. And to tell you the truth, I was shocked when NASCAR went ahead and made that decision as quickly as it did. But as you mentioned, one might have expected that there were going to be an element that was going to fight back, and that's what we saw today. But it's not going to be the end of the story. I think that those who are on the right side of history will ultimately prevail.
Eugene, again, when you see those drivers, when you see all those drivers park their cars and their crew teams move that number 43 all the way to the front. I mean, that was obviously a show of unity, but the reality is that doesn't change how people feel. NASCAR has to do a hell of a lot more when it comes to reaching out to their Southern core base, people who love the Confederate flag and, frankly, who have no problem celebrating those white domestic terrorists.
Look, the thing is this, right? NASCAR is 2 weeks into this game. Decades of celebrating the Confederate flag, of welcoming racists, of being a safe space for those things. They're 2 weeks into the realization that all lives matter, because now they actually understand that Black lives matter, right? And the thing is this, they're on paper attempting cultural change, but they actually have a lot of work to do to actually shift the change of the culture of their fans, of their supporters, of their crew workers. Because I agree with you. I mean, the NASCAR stalls, the garage bays and stalls, are more secure than probably most of your NFL, NBA locker rooms. Just because of all the equipment, the sensitivity of it, the lives that are at risk if a car is tampered with or anything like that. But also to Avis's point, I can also see why NASCAR moved really, really quickly. One of the things that they've understood is that NASCAR is probably the one sport that has the most sponsors. And if just a couple of those sponsors get ready to pull their dollars in a situation like this, NASCAR could collapse.
Oh, that's what it boils down to. Money talks. Simple as that.
Yeah.
This is the statement that NASCAR put out regarding the noose. Late Sunday afternoon, NASCAR was made aware that a noose was found in the garage stall of the 43 team. We are angry and outraged and cannot state strongly enough how seriously we take this heinous act. We have launched an immediate investigation and will do everything we can to identify the persons responsible and eliminate them from the sport. As we have stated unequivocally, there is no place for racism in NASCAR, and this act only strengthens our resolve to make the sport open and welcoming to all.
The issue with that statement is that 2.5 weeks ago, there was a place for racism in NASCAR. And so, while it's great that in this moment that they're taking an abrupt stance and that they're putting their foot down, what's going to have to happen is they got to deal with the culture of their fans. And look, one of the conversations that myself and some of my folk have been having, there probably needs to be a blackout at one of the upcoming NASCAR races in support of Bubba. There probably needs to be a couple thousand black folk that show up and say, listen, we're not going to take this shit. But NASCAR, they're 2.5 weeks into this, but you can't put out a statement like that as if 2.5 weeks ago you wouldn't have very well welcomed a bunch of trailers and a bunch of campsites tossing around the Confederate flag or effigies of Barack Obama or Trump flag with the combo of the Confederate flag. So while the statement's cool and the show unity is even better, what's best is probably NASCAR actually doing the real work to change the culture of their fan, the culture of their sport, and the culture of the environment that they create.
But you also have right now where you have athletes who can make a big difference. Tavion Land, he was a quarterback for Liberty University. Jerry Falwell Sr. created that university. His son now runs it. This is what Tavion posted today on social media. Go to my iPad, please. My short time spent with the athletic department and most professors at Liberty University was much appreciated as it helped me improve my skills, gain new experiences, and meet a diverse group of friends. Unfortunately, due to the racial insensitivity displayed by leadership at Liberty University, I have decided to enter my name into the transfer portal and no longer be a student athlete at Liberty University. I pray that I am able to be provided with an opportunity at a new school that respects my culture and provides a comfortable environment. Bless it. Hashtag BLM Tavion. That is significant, Mustafa, because we see the players at Oklahoma State who went after Mike Gundy. We're seeing what happened to the football players at Iowa State, the black players at Iowa State. The strength and conditioning coach has been fired. We're seeing this at other places where you had down at the University of Alabama, their gymnastics team. We're seeing this in other places. We are seeing these young athletes not afraid of losing scholarships, not afraid of head coaches. They are standing up to racism and bigotry, and this is huge. If more of them do that, if more of them leave these schools, if more of them tell these Division I schools like Clemson, if you don't take these buildings down named after these racists like John Calhoun, we ain't coming. I'm telling you right now, them white folks at Clemson and Alabama and Auburn and Texas A&M and all these universities, they are going to do what they say because they cannot have big-time football without black ball players.
Exactly. And that's how you change the system, is by putting that leverage on them, because they know that's going to affect the ticket sales and that's going to affect the overall revenue. And it's big money, for many of these colleges and universities. And, it's good to see the work of, all these incredible folks from our past, Muhammad Ali, from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, from our brother Jim, all that work that they did years and years ago. Now we've got all these young brothers and sisters who are standing up and say, if you're not going to respect our people, you're not going to respect our culture, then, we are willing to take it someplace else.
Let's talk about this here, folks. The Camden City School District in New Jersey will begin the process to rename Woodrow Wilson High School. Camden School Superintendent Katrina McComb says the decision came in light of the protests and outrage after the death of George Floyd. Now, many in the community raised their concerns about the school being named after someone who was one of the most violent racists ever to serve in the White House. That is significant. What we saw over the weekend, we saw folks bringing down various statues of Confederate leaders. You also see in New York the removal of a statue of Theodore Roosevelt, where he was flanked by an American Indian on one side and an African on the other side. Many people have talked about his colonialism. You also have, there was a Ulysses Grant statue that came down. Now you got white conservatives, Avis, who are complaining, saying, oh, you're going to start bringing down or you start bringing down Jefferson, bringing down Washington as well. What's next? I'm going to find out. Matt Schlapp was like, oh, Jesus is next. And so, is that going to be happening next? And I'm going, and of course, I saw Bakari Sellers. He said, nah, Jesus is fine. He said, because he was a refugee from Palestine. Y'all would have put him in cages.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, that is so ridiculous. Here's the reality. Symbols matter. They display what a culture values. It's always been amazing to me. I've never really understood. I've traveled in a lot of different countries, including Germany, and I've yet to see a nation on earth that has deities to traitors. I've yet to see that anywhere else on earth. Nowhere but here. And so what these symbols represent is not what their proponents claim they represent. It's not about their heritage. It's about hate. It's about the disturbing, the very bloody, the very ugly history of America that for some reason they want to maintain, because they want to maintain a sense of control and subjugation at the same time, right? And so these matter. Now, I'm hoping that, we continue to move forward in replacing these deities with those that deserve lifting up. But at the same time, as we do this, that we continue to push forward with other sort of policy advances that we need to make sure that while this is an important part that we need to focus on, it's certainly just one part that we need to focus on in order to create the broad-scale systemic change that we need in order to create a more fair America.
Speaking of that, 8 correctional officers of color have filed discrimination charges against Ramsey County in Minneapolis. Ramsey County Jail is where Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer who killed George Floyd, is being held. The 8 guards allegedly say that supervisors barred them from guarding and being on the same floor as Chauvin. They were replaced with white officers. Really? Really, Eugene?
Right. I mean, lots of words on this. I mean, this is crazy. These gentlemen have not displayed the racism that came from Officer Chauvin. Their job should not be affected because he's a prisoner. They should be allowed to continue to do their jobs. And I hope the county pays them out very handsomely for violating their rights as employees. This just shows how deep systemic racism goes within law enforcement, right? Here you have an officer who was transferred outside of the county where he was, arrested and probably should be held to a new county. And then the new county comes in and says, hey, let's get rid of all the black COs that be overseeing them. It's appalling. It's appalling, but it's what should be expected. And the thing is this, if they don't trust the black COs to watch over him because of what may happen because of what he did, how do they think black people feel when he's out, when officers like him are out in the street just running free?
How about this one here? You want to talk about officers? Y'all remember the story where these 3 cops in New York said that they were poisoned at a Shake Shack? And then what did supervisors do in the union? Put a statement out and sent cops there. Roland, go to my iPad, please. And so they blocked off. They brought the crime scene tape out, went through this big old show. Y'all, guess what? Cops lied. Union lied. They checked the video. Nothing nefarious was done to the Shakes. They were not poisoned. Mustafa, no shot cops lying. Okay, all of a sudden now, all people, were saying boycott Shake Shack. They poisoned the blue. Well, in fact, this is today's New York Post. The 3 cops at the center of the NYPD milkshake poisoning scandal never even got sick.
You know what? It just gets so ridiculous sometimes. Folks knew that they hadn't been poisoned. There are no cases across the country of police officers being poisoned from various establishments. But what we can do is I can point folks to communities that have been poisoned, but you don't get the same amount of attention when it's black and brown folks who are actually dealing with these types of injustices. So we really just got to get our priorities straight, and folks understand if we've got a system, a law enforcement system that, has had these problems for decades and decades, let's fix it. Let's stop acting like it doesn't exist. No one is trying to poison police. They are trying to fix a poisoned system.
First of all, speaking of police officers, one of the cops, of course, who was involved in the death of George Floyd, who's out on bail, actually was shopping this weekend. And there was a woman who ran to him. Let's just say she wasn't too happy to see him shopping. Press play.
What's your name?
Oh, yeah, that's me.
It is you. Mm-hmm. So you're out of prison.
Yes.
And you're comfortably shopping in Cub Foods. As if you didn't do anything.
I wouldn't call it comfortably. I'd just say getting necessities or helping.
I don't think you should have that right. I don't even think you should be out on bail.
I can understand.
How does it feel?
I'm sorry you feel that way.
No, you're not sorry. Comfortably as if you didn't kill that man? Did you think that people weren't going to recognize you? Honestly, did you? You don't have the right to be here. You killed somebody in cold blood. You do not have the right to be here.
I'll get my stuff paid for.
No, we don't want you to get your stuff. We want you to be locked up. You're honestly in Cub Foods comfortably shopping out of prison. Do you feel any remorse for what you did? Do you? This is the officer who was let out of jail today for shooting George Floyd. Or, I'm sorry, suffocating him. You're not going to be able to comfortably go around Minnesota like this. I pulled up the picture. I knew it was
One
you.
more minute.
It's just like, he was there when they were killing him. And it's just like, this is crazy that you're here just thinking everything's okay. I mean, you don't want to apologize. You don't want to say anything. Like, no. Because this video is going to be on the internet. Yeah, he has the nerve to literally come outside thinking that we don't know what he looks like. How dare you? You're not going to be able to comfortably live in Minnesota after this, or anywhere. And you will be going back to jail. Trust. Trust. Yeah, he bailed out. How'd you get the money? How'd you get the money? And you're lucky that they don't have your address. You're lucky that they don't have your address. Hi. This is one of the police officers that was involved in killing George Floyd. He was out on bail today, and he's over here comfortably shopping in Caboose as if.
Avis, is she right? Is she wrong? Should she have shot that video and distributed it on the internet?
I can understand the frustration. I'm sure that Mr. Floyd would like to be out getting his necessities too, but he can't because he's dead. And his family will never see him again. So he doesn't have those choices. And, I think she was angry. She was upset. And he's fine. He gonna go home tonight and eat those Oreos. Ain't nothing gonna bother him. I honestly, I can't muster up an ounce of sympathy for him.
Eugene.
Look, if we're gonna push for a fair justice system, part of that fair justice system is that we all play by the same rules. He was able to bond out. I would like to find out how he came up with whatever is required for the $1 million bond. I think most of folk will have a hard time coming up with either the 10% or the value for $1 million bond. But I think it's fine for her to shoot that video. I think at this point, he's a public figure or was a public servant. So either way, she's in the clear. And look, it should be uncomfortable for him. If he wanted comfortability, he should, protect and serve, and that protect life part of that protect and serve. So, I'm 100% okay with it.
Mustafa.
$100,000 to be able to get out of jail. And I was sitting here thinking about the tens of thousands of black and brown men, probably more than that, hundreds of thousands, who haven't been able to raise the funds, so they had to sit in jail. Sometimes when they weren't even guilty. So, when we think about it in that context, it becomes even more egregious.
All right, folks. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much, Mustafa, Avis, and Eugene for being on the panel today. Folks, don't forget, if you want to join our Bring the Funk fan club, please go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of you to support what we do. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, nearly 6,000 of you are. You can give right there on YouTube. So all you got to do, you can just simply go to Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. You can also, of course, send us a check to New Vision Media, Inc., 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., 2006, 20006. Also, a lot of y'all been asking about, of course, getting some of the product for the show. Go to my iPad. If you go to teespring.com, actually go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We have the link there. You can actually get some of the product for the show. You see it all right here. Is Eugene gone? Because I'm gonna show you all this photo here. We got our shirts. We also have our, of course, not the right kind of black shirts. You will see that shirt right here as well. And Eugene's parents are big supporters of the show. And so let me do this here, y'all. They celebrated Father's Day in their Roland Martin Unfiltered shirts. Let me pull this up, the photos. Oh, my goodness. Where do you, Eugene, did you text it to me or I'm trying to find. No, I know what he did. I think he posted them. I think he posted them on his Twitter page. So let me go to his Twitter page. I told him I was going to show this. His father is an alpha, and so I gotta give him some love right here on the show. So let me see if I can find media. Here we go. And so this is a photo of Eugene Craig's parents rocking their Roland Martin Unfiltered shirts and mugs. And so we certainly appreciate them being supporters of the show. So again, if you go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you'll see the link right there where you can get our gear. And so we certainly appreciate that. And so you know what we do. Our goal, very simple here, is, folks, to give you the kind of news and information you're not finding anywhere else. And so RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Again, if we can get 1,200 more, actually 1,800 more people, we hit 10,000 of our fans who are members of our fan club. That's hugely important because, again, y'all, we understand what's happening out here. Look, mainstream media not gonna cover our stuff. Yeah, they talking about George Floyd right now. Don't you just love all the black panelists you see in all the mainstream? Y'all know that ain't how they roll, but we do that every single day here, bringing you some of the best experts, grassroots activists, civil rights organizations who are doing the work, and so we certainly appreciate it. All right, folks, tomorrow I'm gonna have a brother from LA who posted something on Facebook seeking black editors, black video editors. But the white folks lost their mind and called him racist. We're going to have him on the show tomorrow right here in Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right, I'm going to see y'all tomorrow. Houston, stay strong. Y'all know I love my hometown.